Hi, here to here. I just had a very interesting conversation with my son. I was doing my IG live. I do these things called daily shorts, and we were talking about. Let me talk about my son. My son, his handle is Humble Demi. He's a musician. He's a producer. He's a poet. He's very creative. He just finished from the University of Guildhall, learning about music, and he's made a few tracks, and he makes all the jingles for all adverts and all that. And but the thing is, he's a very interesting thinker, and he thinks, I'd say, differently. He sees things differently from the way I see them, and that's because there's a generational gap. It would evidently be that way, but we agree on some things, and we agree on most things, but we just have a different perception of how things happen. But the thing I like about his, when he breaks things down, is he makes it very practical. Yeah, he makes it very. It's a very practical approach. It's very. I can't put a finger on it. We have to do. I mean, when we do another one, I would actually put it here. He has a very beautiful way of synthesizing things. It's like he looks at it from almost like an elastic band. He'll just stretch it out and then analyze it that way. I'm more linear. I look for the structure. Everything is basically fundamental for me. There's an old saying. I wanted to. So we're talking about. My daughter said the other day, I made something for her to drink, like traditional medicine, and she said it was too bitter. And I was just thinking, yeah, everything came to my head. I tend to break things down like that, and I was thinking, yes, everybody wants to die, and nobody wants to go to. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die. Old quote. At the same time, you want to be healthy, but you don't want to drink something that is bitter. So, do you really want to be healthy? At the same time, another thing came, and about the messenger and the message, and this kind of like I was just floating around thinking about various things. The messenger and the message. You don't take the message. Instead, you look at the messenger, and you actually focus more on the messenger than really taking the message that messenger is bringing. And you see, this is another thing with mainstream media. They know how to dehumanize it. They know how to destroy a person's character. So let's take, for instance, let's look at maybe one of the obvious ones would be like someone like Trump. Yeah, I have no stake in it. I'm not even American, so I have no stake in the matter. But let's look at Trump. What do we know about the mainstream media? They've lied about everything. They're controlled. We know the people that control them. Everything is public information. And yet, what do we know about Trump? Prior to him running for president or becoming president, he was well loved. He wasn't known as a racist then. The narrative changed. But the people who changed the narrative are the same people who have been giving us narratives for the last 20 odd years. And everything they've said has been a lie. Why start believing them now? It's confusing for me. Like what Malcolm X says, be careful. The media will get you believing that the people who are there to liberate you are the ones who are there to enslave you. Media is very tactful. So that's that messenger message thing. I don't have any stake in. Like I said, he's a politician. All of them are the same. In my book, there's no difference. The politicians never come to fix anything. They come to keep things the way they are. But if you look at some of the things he's doing, maybe the guy has something. He's actually making changes. And then look at everything that has been brought to light, things that have been under the rug, swept under the rug, things that have been hidden, all this Pizzagate and, all of this madness, all this child trafficking and all these things that are just coming out. All of a sudden, it's not because we're becoming more aware, it's because most of these things have been exposed. They've been going on for years. Most of us who, someone like me, I've always been in that conspiracy type circuit. I've always monitored all those things, from the aliens down. I've always monitored them. We've known some of these things, but the amount of information that is coming out on a daily is scary. And you're like, damn, this is happening in the world that we live in. This kind of evil perpetuates. So, I don't know. I've always felt like, whenever everything that is mainstream promotes something, I just go literally full. I do a 180. I never go with what they recommend. I never go with what they say. Same way I feel about governments too. I don't trust governments. Sorry, it's just me. Well, this is just a quick holler. Anyway, so I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about how we tend to make up our minds on things that we really know very little about, and then we vehemently defend that ignorance. And at many times we create conflict between us and people that we care about simply because we are defending ignorance. And this is because we're not obliged to take responsibility for what we are talking about. We didn't originate it. So we can feign ignorance anytime. We can say, oh, well, I didn't know. But then you would say hurtful things and you would treat people wrong for something that you can't validate. And the most important thing is how you treat other people, because that's a direct reflection of who you are. So the messenger and the message. Let's just talk about the messenger and the message. Sometimes it's good to know where the message is coming from, know who's delivering the message. But if you focus first on the message, the quality of the message, and anything that is said can either be true or false, you validate that for yourself. Is it true? Is it false? If you can actually validate that for yourself, do some research on your own. Rather than take anything anybody says for face value, do some research on your own. Find out for yourself. Rather than go with popular opinion, which is mostly public opinion, which is mostly spin, which is mostly based on propaganda that has been preset, which fits into an objective and an agenda that is not necessarily yours. Because if you were, you wouldn't even be watching this. Do some research, do some critical thinking, run things through your mind. Analyze, see if it makes sense. Let the actions of the individual be the determinant of your own conclusion, not what you hear say. Hearsay never works. Let the actions, watch the actions. Let the actions speak. Forget about the words that they say, because that could be based on them acting a part. What they do is the same thing with me and you. It's not what I say to you, it's what I do. What's important is the doing. People talk a lot. Talk is affordable. We can talk from now till, well, how many people are up for the moment? If the moment comes, would you do what you say? Would you be able to act? Would you be able to take that action? Like I said, cowards are the ones who complain about what they don't do, and other people are doing it. They complain about what other people are doing. First of all, they talk about the discomfort, and then they complain about somebody else that is making an effort to make that change, and they're not even making the change. I was watching the NFAC thing, and Grandmaster Jay, and he said something about that too. Some people wouldn't bust a grape in a fruit fight, but yet they're the first to actually criticize anybody who does. Sometimes if you can't do something, just admit that you can't do it. This is where introspection comes in. Know yourself. Know thyself. The only way to know yourself is to recognize, go in, spend time with you, meditate, pray. It's all about introspection. And then you own what you do. If you're an asshole, own it. Own what you do. Don't pass the buck. A lot of people do this. I know I don't like saying a lot of people. I like talking about what I do, but I've noticed this, that a few people close to me, even I do this sometimes. I wouldn't take ownership. That's why anytime I have any kind of situation, any kind of conversation, the result of it, I always believe that I am at fault. Why? Because my compliance, my non-compliance, my whatever I said, whatever, even my body movement could have contributed to the outcome of that situation. Anything I did, said, or didn't say would contribute to the outcome because I participated in the process that brought about that outcome. See, I participated. So I must take ownership of that participation. What did I do? So I come and have a conversation with you, and all of a sudden we're screaming at each other. Why? What exactly did I do that resulted in this particular situation? I own it. I recognize it. I own it. If I need to apologize for it, I do that. If I don't, okay. But I acknowledge that my participation was what brought about this result. And then I own that. See? So you take responsibility for your thoughts, speech, and actions. And don't levy it onto somebody else by always saying, oh, it's their fault, when the result had something to do with you. If everybody pulls it, like if most people, okay, let's use the word everybody. We all have conversations. If each and every one of us took stock, we actually sat, after the conversation, if it ended, if it was amicable or if it was the reverse, then we actually take stock of our contributions and with brutal honesty, and then we own the fact that it was due to our contribution that actually brought out this particular result. Then the world would become a better place because we would now own our prejudices. And to own that prejudice is to actually acknowledge that you have that prejudice. So you're no longer living in denial. And now you have now started to conquer the ego. And that means you are more honest with self. You tell yourself the truth. It's easy to spot bullshit when you're honest with yourself. It's not that difficult. Anyway, I'm gonna end this here. This is usually when I do these things, unless there's a specific topic anybody wants me to address, like I've started doing lives, and my son would come and say, okay, we've done one, I've done a few with the MED conversations, and I don't like having topics per se. I just want to vibe on thoughts that I have, anything that I'm feeling, just chuck it out there and see what comes. All this formality stuff doesn't work with me. Just anything that comes, anything that comes out, and it's more spontaneous, but it's how I feel. It's what I'm experiencing and I'm sharing. So thank you for hanging out with me, looking up at the time because I know I have some stuff to do. If you like this, like it, subscribe, share it. If you gain something from it, share it. It'll be nice for other people to gain from what you have gained, if you believe something good comes out of this. And see you on the next one, I guess. Have a lovely day. Peace.
Late night sessions with my notepad. I know as a fact if I didn't write I'd go mad. Never show intentions at Rorschach, word to the most high. With my hands on my gonads. All I want for my people is freedom. See them all eating. LV sheets and the lubes are in season. Can't be content with this notion of breathing. That's not in my thesis. I know what defeat is. Can't move forward if you only play defense. Them times I couldn't spit shit up in B-Tech, and these times I steady kill bars on a reflex. Sit back on a rooftop, then I reflex. Start stargazing. Funny how space never fails to amaze me. Funny how space made my old girl. So tell me, I just wanna be for a minute. I just wanna breathe for him. Otherwise I might. So tell me. I just wanna be.